Hi, this is Mr. Roche. I'm here to help folks get caught up with the animation. Okay, this is where we are in class from the work that we did. Okay, and we're using a model from W3 schools to animate. Okay, right now our little dots don't bounce. We want them to bounce continually, but they kind of fly off the screen, which is still pretty cool. Okay, and what I want to do is I want to show you how to do this, okay? Basically, we're using an example from here that allowed you to animate, okay? So this is an example of an animation. And what they do in terms of code is important in that what happens is there's an interval that gets set up on the JavaScript, and you can have this happening, and it will call up whatever you want to call up. So we're going to call up frame following this example. And in here, you don't have to do this. You can put whatever you want in it. Okay, so we took this idea and we applied it to Bouncy House. Okay, and that's what we did. Okay, so let me show you how to set this up. So it's actually pretty easy. All you need is like interval and a frame, and a reference to the frame, and everything's actually pretty good. Okay, so moving over here, what happened then was actually just copied that code right in there. See it? Okay. So I use this at the top of the program, okay, where we have things. We set up an interval, okay? And in addition to that, I made a frame, okay, which does two things. So what happens is every, I guess, 5 milliseconds, it calls up a frame, okay? Or, on some regular basis, this just sort of wakes up and gets called. And what we do is we move our dots, okay? And then we redraw. Redraw, we've already programmed. It's exactly the same as the redraw we use when we click. We just redraw the screen. That's what's going on in there, okay? There's a nice happy loop in here that will we draw an ellipse for you, which is a circle, and we get the coordinates from, we get the color, we get the coordinates from these coordinate lists, the X and Y, we get the color from this color dot list, the list of colors, and we fill it up. Okay, and that's what we do. So this function down here, move dots and redraw, this is old, this is brand new. Okay, and this is where we have to do work. Okay, so to get this to work, basically the dots have a kind of a variable to hold their movement speed. Okay, so each dot has to have a kind of an X speed, an X direction speed, and a Y direction speed. So to get this, you have to add these two new arrays to the list. We already have X coordinates, we already have Y coordinates, we already have the dot color list, and what I need you to do is add dx and dy. Okay, so stop for a second and add that right now. Okay, so I'm assuming that you added dx and dy. Okay, and then what we need to do is use this. So every time we click and make a dot, like I think I still have this up, every time I click on Bouncy House, okay, what happens is now they, instead of just getting an X and Y coordinate, they actually get an X and a Y speed too. And some of them are positive and negative. Each one can be, it's random, okay? So, what we're going to do is add that to our scripts here, okay? So we made the array list, okay? And so now what we need to do is when you click, okay? When you click, you now need to make speeds on the points, okay? We have something already which allows you to, put the coordinates of wherever you click, and it puts a dot there. That's what it does, okay? We have expanded that to allow for a random color, which we're doing here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to set a speed variable in the X direction and the Y direction for each one of these points, okay? So when you add a click, the X and Y get pushed onto the coordinate list, the color gets set, and then we're going to do this extra thing here, okay? We are going to create two random numbers, one for dx and one for dy, okay? And what happens is we choose a random number between 1 and 7. Okay, so that gives you 0 and 6. And then what we do is we like subtract 3. So if the random number came back like 3, it would come back 0. If it was 2, it would come back -1. Okay, and and if it was like 1 or 0, it would come back -1. Okay, so what it does is allows us to have both positive. This allows us to have both positive and negative speeds. If we didn't have this, like it looked like this with a semicolon, um, the um, the thing would only be positive. You'd only have positive y speeds, and then that way, like the balls or the dots would only go in like a kind of like a right direction, and that wouldn't be what we want. We want them to be going both ways. Okay. So so the -3 is actually important. Okay. So you want to do that. So stop for a second and add this. Okay. So then once you create your random numbers here, okay, what we want to do is there is a possibility when you come out of here that the dx or the dy equals 0. And in class, what we decided was we would always just, if there's 0, we'd force them to be 1. We didn't want the dots just to be sitting and stuff like that. So we always want them to be sort of going at some speed. Also, interestingly enough, this is how you do absolute equivalence in JavaScript. You use 3 equal signs. And the book we're using uses 3 equal signs, so I'm going to use that. So I have to do this. This is a check. These are sort of a check for x and a check for y to see if it's 0. And then what we do is we push these onto a dx list. Okay? So this is like our addition for animation. Okay? So this code right here has to get added. For animation in add click. Okay, so you have to go to this old function here and add some new lines of code. So you're adding this. Okay, so stop for a second, take a look at this, try very hard to understand what we're doing. Okay, if you have questions, absolutely ask me in class, because it's more important that you understand what's going on than you type it. But that's what we want. Okay. Okay. The final thing we need to do is make something called move dots. Move dots takes whatever the current x position that you have, for example, adds dx to it and changes it, and then puts it back on the coordinate list so that redraw can draw it. Okay, so what we're going to do is every time we change the frame, we're going to move the dots and then redraw. We're going to move the dots and then redraw. And this is how animation works. Okay, so we have a function up here now called move dots. Okay, and what we can do with it is we can set up a little loop, and a loop gets set up with a for statement. So I'll write one up here, and the way it works, you say for some variable that you're going to count. Okay, normally people say I happen to say what dot. We're going to start at 0. Okay, and we're going to do this while whatever the variable is less than some stopping point. Okay, and ours is the x coordinate list length. Okay, so for however many dots you have, you're going to count through them. That's what we're doing. Okay, okay, and then what we need to do is every time the loop iterates, we need to tell it what to do to go forward. So what we want to do is we want it to go up by 1 every time. So this is going to go for I equals 0, boom, loop. For I equals 1, boom, loop. For I equals 2, boom, loop. For I equals 3, boom, loop. And then if you use I in here, it would use that. Okay, but what we're doing is we're using what dot. Okay, so for ours, it's going to go like this, and that's how you make a loop. A for loop has kind of 3 kind of areas. There's an initialization part, there's a continue while part, and then there's a increment, like how high it goes up each time, every time the iteration's over part. Okay, and we have that already for this loop here, which is set up for a variable called what dot. So we're going to say for what dot starting at 0, so this is like the first dot on the list, 0th dot, while what dot, the place of the dot, is is less than the length of the list, go up 1 every time. So it's going to go 0, and then it's going to go 1, and then it's going to go 2, and it's going to go 3, and it's going to go all the way for however many dots you have running. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to do this simple little thing. We're going to take the current value that's in the x coordinate. We're going to add the speed to it, and we're going to put it back as changed into its place. Okay, and the same thing for y. We're going to take the old value that was at the what dot place in y. We're going to add dy to it, and then we're going to put it back in there. Okay, now because we have our interval set up, yay, and because we have a frame, and because we have a frame that calls move dots, what we're going to do, all this does is it just continually does this on a like a interval basis. It will do what we want to do, namely goes like this, and it puts out dots, and that should get you caught up. Okay, so try it. You should get to here. If you're having trouble, the thing to do is help yourself. Go right here, go to Developer Tools, and look at the console log. And if you're having trouble, you'll have a red line in here, and it'll tell you where to go. Okay, and this takes you to the section of the code where you can look at it here. You still need to change it in Sublime, but at least it tells you what to do. And that's how you help yourself. You just go to those lines and you look very carefully. Okay. If you're having trouble, also compare the code that I gave you here. Go back to this video and look at the things we added. We added an array. Okay. We added a loop. Okay. And we added this code here in click. Okay. Additionally, for Monday, we're adding 3 lines right now to actually 4 lines to so we can make them bounce. Right now they need to know the bounds of the canvas that they're on. Okay, so right now what they're doing is when you run it, it goes outside of the bounds here like this. Let me turn this back off. So what happens is, see how it goes out? We want it to actually bounce at that point. So here it is going out, we want it to bounce. So to do that, you need to know the boundaries of this. And so when you move it, if it moves too far, what you're going to do is going to put it back in, and you're going to have it go in the opposite direction, which I can show you how to do that. And to set up for that, you have to have this business going on here. This gives me from Canvas information about the size of the rectangle, okay? And that rect variable has some attributes I can get right and left, and bottom and top, and I can use them mathematically to get a canvas width and a canvas height. Okay, and what we did at the end of class, and I think everybody got this, was that they did this a little bit, and they reported out that the thing was as big as it was. Okay, so when you run yours, like you want this to happen. Let me see. So like mine goes like this. I have a thing that counts how many dots I put on it. So I put on 10,000, but what it does is it gives me this. This is important. So it knows how big my canvas is. And that's what this line's doing here. Okay. So with that, you can get caught up. What I do want is I want the balls to be moving around. You know, the rectangle stuff we can figure out, but we want this kind of action. Okay. So that's your job in terms of getting caught up. Okay. And thanks.